Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
What's going on, people? How you doing there, brother?
I'm doing well, brother. How about yourself?
Hey, man. We got another day above the ground. It's a happy day. Oh, my man is wearing the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Woo!
It tells our age when you know exactly what it is.
Come on now, man. Come on. We got to talk about that a little bit.
You're telling us our age. Guys, welcome to Community Beacon. It's Friday. It's 6:30. Well, 6:30 for you. It's a little bit earlier for us. Glad to have you here. Please welcome. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys. Before we get started, let's go over some housekeeping. You're going to see the ticker at the bottom. What does it say? Like, share, comment, subscribe. We do appreciate each and all the engagement that you guys have for us. We definitely do. That definitely is somewhat of our oxygen. We're doing it anyways, but it definitely helps us to keep on going and keep on moving when you engage. And we definitely appreciate it. We take the time out of our day to answer all of your comments. So if you have any comments or any suggestions or any thoughts, please put it down there in the comment section and we will get right back to you. Guys, every Monday, what it takes. Every Monday. Sometimes I'm not up to it. I'm not going to lie. And we're going to get into some of this stuff as we talk about the process this in regards to this show. But we are putting it out there. So I appreciate you guys for checking in and bearing with me. That show's going almost 2-3 years. It actually started with Beethoven. And I just kept it going on Mondays. So please check me out on Mondays, What It Takes. I appreciate you all there as well.
What time are you there now, brother?
Man, I'm not doing lives. I've been pre-taping it. I probably should go back to lives. I think it's a little bit more livelier, pun intended. So I've been putting it out right around between 4 and 6 o'clock. I normally get it done early in the mornings. And I actually was thinking about doing it even earlier in the mornings before we get our day started because I'm up and moving Monday morning. So
what time can I catch you though? What time?
Bro. Yeah, between 4 and 6. I'm normally dropping it. So between 4 and 6. Sometimes I drop it at 4, sometimes 5, sometimes 6. I'm testing. I'm flying it as I'm building it for sure. And guys, here he goes. I appreciate you, man. We live in action. And on Wednesdays, it starts with who?
All right, brother. It starts with me, man. Starts with me, starts with you.
Absolutely, brother. What's going on?
I think we got Richard Flinton's back up there. I think we just launched that one. Y'all check it out. I just got interviewed on the Kim Jacobs show. So you can find that on the YouTube. That was a great conversation. You guys ought to check Kim Jacobs out. She's got a great setup. She does a daily show. It's always live. She gave me the opportunity to broadcast to my own people. So that was interesting. That's a new thing that StreamYard does. So that's, shout out to StreamYard for making that easy, accessible. But listen, jump on in there, people. We're having a good time. It's a good time. All right.
Absolutely. You spoke about StreamYard, but since we started, StreamYard's added so many different additions to its platform. It's really, it's moving with the time. So I definitely appreciate everything that StreamYard is doing. I definitely don't know how to access it. It was very basic before. It's getting more complicated. So I probably need to take some time out to actually go through and see all of the upgrades they've done. So yeah, definitely shouts out to StreamYard for that. And of course, on Fridays, Community Beacon, we drop every Friday at around 6:30. We here, man, and we definitely appreciate you. Guess what we forgot last week? So I don't want people to feel away because I know I don't want them to forget our month, but we forgot Mother's Day. We didn't talk about it at all last week, Friday, with everything we had going on. So I hope everyone had an excellent Mother's Day. I hope you all celebrated your mothers here, not here, your grandmothers, all the mothers that contribute to raising us and bringing us into this world. I, for one, definitely appreciate all the mothers that are in my life. I spent a lot of time texting a bunch of people, and they all showed their appreciation, and which I love. So they did take the time out on their Mother's Day to reach back out to me to appreciate me for thanking them. So, man, the mothers are doing it. So I appreciate them. Blame it on our minds and not our hearts, because you're definitely in our hearts. How about you, brother?
Love it. Yeah, man. I was very glad to be able to spend time with my mama and my grandmama and my kids' mama. That was a beautiful thing. So I'm with you, man. We had a good time too. We went over to my mom's house, and my grandmother was there. And
Nice.
man, it was crazy fun. I should show the video. Oh my gosh, we had crazy fun. We played a game of Monopoly, and it was some new Monopoly. So we playing Jenga. Listen, dude, I won everything. Everything. I let them know it.
Hold on, not the brother being extra competitive on Mother's Day.
Extra competitive.
Not even giving them a chance. Come on, bro.
No chance. None. Yeah, they had some good food, and then I was like, "Oh, let's go ahead and play Jenga." I bought my parents a Jenga set like years ago. It's a huge Jenga set. Yeah. Boom, like big wood blocks. It's the type of blocks that if they fall on you, they'll hurt. They'll scar you. It's meant for outside. And we put it up on one of the tables that my mom and dad had set up. And oh man, we got so creative. We had Jenga pieces going like this, vertical. And then we'll put stuff on top of it like this. And then it was not the customary, lay it the same way that you had it at the bottom. No, my little boy went crazy. He would tilt it so that it will be leaning to one side. One time it looked like the Leaning Tower of Pisa. We're like, oh my gosh. But I won them all.
And you guys about to say, you came out triumphant. Of
course.
Hey man, hey mothers, hey, he's not slacking up, not even on Mother's Day.
Nope.
But we appreciate you all. Like I said, we definitely appreciate you guys. And now we're gonna get headed into our topic. Last week was a fun week. Last week we spoke about I know we spoke about was it the mask last week, or was the mask the week before?
The mask has come up over the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, the mask has been interesting. And I'm gonna tell you what, after that conversation going out into the world, and I hope you guys do the same thing that I do. But the brother and I have these different conversations. Actually, the mask was 2 weeks before, because last week we kind of spoke about relationships.
I think we mentioned it though.
Yeah,
I
think we're going to mention it.
But it had an honorable mention.
Yeah, I think we're going to mention it I know I will, because it was so important for me to, sometimes it takes having these conversations to really grasp something. I mean, we come across all these different thought processes, these different ideas, these different, these different thoughts, whatever it is. And sometimes it just takes you and I going back, and I'm like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. So that resonated for me for the past couple of weeks. Last week, the relationship, we kind of left that with, because, I'm on my do not engage. I am not engaging with the foolishness, with negative, negative energies, etc. Do not engage in that. That's going to lend to this conversation as well, especially as we go and talk about the process. But you ended last week. So guys, go back and watch last week. It's when you need to engage, when you're in close relationships. This is when we start talking about family members, spouses, significant others, etc. It's like there's times when you need to engage. And one of the things that I took from that conversation personally was you spoke about the trust. And there's times when the do not engage does not work. You need to engage. However, you need to take time out to think about it, come back, but also letting your partner know, listen, we're going to get back, and you give them that time frame. I think that's important. That builds trust. There's an understanding that we're gonna go through this, and people aren't left hanging off the cliff. People actually get their, they get what they're asking for, they're satisfied, so to speak. So I love that. Going back, this is going to help me with my communications with people who are personally involved with me. So guys, go back and check out those past 2 episodes as we start to get into today's episode, which we are talking about the process. And I guess you have a short little story, brother, in regards to how this has kind of been on your mind before we got on the show today.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate that. I was speaking with somebody a little while ago, and I was just asking them how they were doing. And they basically were like, hey, listen, everything's going pretty well, with them. And they're grateful. And they said to me, they were like, people say trust the process, but it's not always so easy to trust the process. And it's like, couldn't have said that any better, right? Because the thing about it is, like, you don't learn to trust the process until you're in the process, and you have to lean into the process, and that's where you gain your trust. Your belief is being tried. Your morals, your values are being tried at that very moment. And in that moment, you're really learning how to make it through. It's not even about the process. It's just about one day at a time, one moment at a time, doing all that you can do to make the very next best decision that you possibly can make. In that, you learn that you can have success if you make those decisions, if you consider what's going on and do your best to make those good decisions. That's when you come out and you're like, man, that was hard, but God was with me the whole time through it all, and that's where we end up coming out with saying something as simple as, listen, hey, brother, just trust the process. Like, what are you talking about? I'm getting skinned alive over here.
That pressure.
The pressure is on. I'm getting skinned alive. You talking about trust the process? What process?
So when you talk about the process, I'm defining it. I'm thinking about it in my mind contextually as the model. And so there's a certain model that we tend to follow, and that's just because of I tend to lead on probability versus possibility. I'm not saying things aren't possible, but there's certain things that can tend to lead to a certain conclusion, or it's been done before, so to speak. Of course, everyone has their own nuances, has their own things going on in their life. So what exactly worked for, I don't know, Elon Musk, Warren Buffett, let's name some very highly successful people. You may have a lot of other things that happen within you, your experiences, your culture, the people around you, etc. Money is huge for a lot of people. Resources, I guess, as opposed to money. So resources. And so while you're in it, I'm assuming, and I would hope, that you find a template that matches your lifestyle or your way of being, and then you follow that to the T. Now, here's the thing is that even though I think the biggest thing about trusting the process is not knowing when. You know what I mean? Like this result is going to happen, or the result that you're looking to happen happens. What I found.
Tell me what you found. That's what I want to know. I was waiting to ask you that question. Tell me what you found.
What I found, brother, is for people is that when they start it, they don't necessarily, how it ends or the result that they get from it is not necessarily what they thought was going to happen. And this happens to like countless entrepreneurs, even the ones that we call successful. A lot of, certain people start on certain paths because they believe that's what they want. They believe they want this thing. or this thing is going to make their life better, or let's people want money. And then there's the elusive, especially when you first start. There's this elusive $100,000. Everybody wants to make, it's probably more than that now, but when I was coming up, it was like I want to make 100,000. Like that $100,000 number was that number that you aspire to have, and you start this process. Now, if you're doing it for just strictly for the 100,000, it's gonna be hard to trust that process. If you're just doing it for the sake of that, because you think that 100,000 is going to make your life change immensely, or it's going to be this. Actually, normally it's like doubling whatever you're making, but I'm gonna call it 100,000. So it's like if you're just doing it strictly for that, that process is going to be a long and arduous process. And let's say you do get there, what you're going to find, what I found when I got there, was that the process was what I found the most enjoyment of. Because what you become on the way to that 100,000 is like that's actually what like that's the thing. You know what I mean? Because so now you made this 100,000. Now I could do it again, and I can do it again. It's a difference because you could be in the process, and whoever you're speaking with who was like, I'm in the process. Like, when does this process end? Okay, forget it. I'm gonna give you this money or if that's what you're in search for, I'm gonna give you the result of what it is that you're looking for. I don't care what it is. It could be money. It could be a job. It could be a certain lifestyle. It could be whatever it is that you're seeking, this wisdom, this thing that you're seeking. But if I just gave it to you and negated the process, you find yourself, and you first off, you probably wouldn't be able to keep whatever it was that I gave you. If I gave you the job, if I just gave it to you, you stepped in, and now you're the head of Coca-Cola. You probably won't be the head of Coca-Cola for long if you didn't go through the process of being the head of Coca-Cola. I want to talk about this. I guess this is culturally relevant. Is the and I guess it's tough to even compare it. But I'm thinking about the brother John Morant, who's currently in that got caught up with flashing guns, Memphis Grizzlies. I know you're not in, you don't be paying attention too much, brother, but the brother got caught with, he's brandishing a gun. It's like the second time in the last probably 6 months. He got suspended the first time, and now he's suspended again. And who knows how much this suspension is going to cost him. But in the meantime, this brother, he had a contract for close to, maxing it out would have been like 200 something million. I want to say 230 million. But because of this situation, and he's probably one of the top 10 players in the NBA right now, he already lost $30 million because of the first time he did this situation. So now we don't know what he's going to lose the second time. But what happens is this is a 22, 23-year-old young man who I'm not saying he didn't work hard to get to the NBA. I'm sure he did. But it's the difference between working hard to in that sport versus getting that money. Because we got to think, we're paying athletes $100, $200, $300 million in a contract now. So the money that they're getting almost doesn't even seem like money. When you hear athletes getting fined for whatever situation they get, they fining them $50,000. I'm fining you $50,000. And they're actually taking these fines. But I mean, can you imagine if your job came to you, or you were working at a job and your job told you, hey, listen, I'm fining you $50,000. For the average American, that's their entire paycheck for the year. But because these numbers seem so large, and they don't understand how hard it is to get that, for the regular person to get that amount of money, a lot of these athletes don't find that out until they're not making it no more. So, they 5-7 years and now they have to retire. They're no longer in the league. And all of a sudden they went from making millions of dollars a year to, let's say, $100,000 a year, which for the average person is really good. But for that athlete and the lifestyle that he or she was accustomed to, that's not 100,000 is like I'm broke kind of deal. You know what I mean? But because they had this money, so he's doing this thing, and he didn't go through the process of financial literacy. He doesn't understand how hard it is to make that dollar, but he's given this dollar for him to look and understand that he lost 30 million. Man lost $30 million from brandishing a weapon. A person who had actually went through the process of working and actually to get to that 30 million. The average person who gets to 30 million, and that's not even an average person, is going to be like, man, you know what I had to do to get here? You know how much pressure it was? My wife was looking at me crazy. She didn't think the business was going to make it. There were times when I had to pay my employees and I didn't have nothing to put into my pocket. I was eating ramen noodles, and this was over a lifespan of what would it take the average person to make 30 million? Probably 20, 30 years to develop a $30 million business. Because first off, it's not the average person to make 30 million. No. And then even if that's ultra wealthy. When you get to about $30 million, you're ultra wealthy at this point. So any ultra wealthy person, most ultra wealthy people know, obviously if you didn't inherit it, but most ultra wealthy know exactly how hard it is to make this money. It's time. It's time on task. It's thousands of hours of just. It's going to take you them 10,000 hours that Malcolm Gladwell talks about, and some. You know what I mean? And support, resources, etc. But as a player, that's getting this money as a young guy, like it's that. So now you got this $240 million contract, and we all celebrated it. Good for you, young man. This is what happens when you're in the top 1% of whatever it is that you're doing. But you have these skills, however, you don't have the financial literacy to go along with it. But it's the process of developing that. What'd you say, brother?
Yeah, I mean, and maybe in his case, some of the other things that he was just like lacking, were within personality. I mean, there's a true balance that would have to come down to. I don't want a Monday night quarterback. Him. It's just. I mean, I was reading some of just the news headings, and one of them was just like, one of them said "Rise of a Monster." Wow, that's harsh.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it is harsh. Maybe it's true, but because like you said, I don't keep up with all that stuff. Because I got my head down and I'm focused on my grind. And there's a lot of things that I don't look at being highly relevant to me if I cannot be impactful in whatever it is. If I can't be impactful, if I can't show up and speak to somebody and help somebody along the way, then it's like there's no reason for me to take any of that into my thought process. I got too much stuff going on. I need to take care of my own household. But just in the whole thought springing brand new with this with John Morant, the Grizzlies player is just like, we all have something that we have to go through, and there's a lot of cues that we need to be a part of, that we need to recognize. So like I was just thinking about the conversation you were having with Joan. I'm like, oh, you should have taped that, because it would have been great for him to be able to see the types of answers that he was answering. Like, these aren't just answers that you're just talking with me and, with your dad and me. You're sitting there talking with Uncle Mike like that too. So, there's more than one person that hears this, that you're talking, and that they recognize cues. Like, this is a big thing, y'all. It's like, we don't think it at any age. I would say that most people don't realize this at any age. I don't care how old you are. You could be 5, you could be 10, you could be 15, you could be 20, you could be 25, 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 85. It doesn't matter. At any age, you just cannot see what it's like to be 10 years advanced. Just can't see it. It just doesn't make sense. A 5-year-old cannot comprehend what a 15-year-old is saying. And a 15-year-old can't comprehend what a 25-year-old is saying, And like, this is This is like, we talking about processes right here. It's like, boom, okay, you got this 40-some-year-old man that's trying to raise, a 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, a 45-year-old trying to raise a 15-year-old, and you got 30 years difference there. 30 years. Like, if the 45-year-old is really doing their best to be the best themselves, right? I'm not talking about just to be successful or whatever. Let's just put that on the side of the table, because success is really about what you believe, right? Because there's greater success in the smaller things than there are in the larger things. And the smaller things done habitually end up becoming the larger things anyway. So just self-development, right? Just in self-development and trying to be the best person that they can be. When they hand over this stuff to somebody else, they're like, like, no, I got this. I'm good. Yeah, I think that I can control my life just fine.
Right.
I've already been in situations like that before. Yeah, but you've been in 3. I've been in 1,000. You've been in 100. I've been in 10,000. And so the words are so much more valuable than the dollar. Like the conversation you were having with Jonah. Mm-hmm. It's like the words, it's like the person is so much more valuable. Now, don't get me wrong, because there are circumstances, especially spiritual, or people that take the time to dig really deep into their own self, their own psyche, their own heart, and they're outsourcing a lot. They're outsourcing a lot. What I mean by outsourcing, they're getting connected with the creator. They're getting connected with their self in the world. Universally, they're getting connected with people that have run before them. They're getting connected with soldiers and leaders and experiences, and they're doing all these things. And yeah, because they're bringing in all that knowledge and all that wisdom and all that understanding, because they're getting that constant flow from above, you can't have those exceptions where you have somebody who's actually younger that can teach somebody who's older, because sometimes the older person they just turn the faucet off, man. I'm good.
I'm comfortable.
I'm good. I'm good. Hey, man, my mama taught me how to wash when I was a kid. I don't need that no more. I'm good. I don't need no book. I'm good. I don't need no lesson. I'm good. And so like we destroy the process of becoming a greater self. Now, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to ask you what you think about it, because I'm trying to remember what the man's name is. Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
Matthew McConaughey. I haven't read this book yet. I keep on looking at it. I'm like, I'm going to read it. I'm going to read it. I want to read it. I haven't read his book that he wrote, where there's a picture of him on the front of it. But I listened to some of it, and I heard a little bit of it on like the YouTube or whatever. And there's this one quote that he has found saying, I think he puts it in the book. I think he puts it when he gets an award, he talks about it, and they put it on multiple motivational YouTubes. And that is, somebody asked him like something like, who's your hero? And he said, me, 10 years from now. And by chance, I don't know who this person was, he met up with that person 10 years later. He's like, who's your hero now? I guess that question impressed him so much. It's like, who's your hero now? He's like, did you become all that you thought you would? He's like, no, man, I didn't become anything that I thought I was. My hero is 10 years away. It's me 10 years from now. And he said he's always chasing his hero. This is the process. Set your affection on things above, not on things of this earth. What do you say about this whole thing? Like just kind of like switching gears from one individual who maybe has some holes in their plans and maybe hasn't recognized certain things because John Morant is going through his own process. You know?
Yeah, and then for Ja, it wasn't meant to demonize the brother. It was more so meant that the financial literacy side of the process, the understanding is not necessarily there. In regards to that, Matthew McConaughey and that thought process, and that's something that I wrote down, was that essentially all you have is the process. Like the thing is the process. Like so you're also, and it doesn't stop. Because once you get there, there's someplace else that you want to go for the man that's always progressing. I think a man should always be progressing. Like there's no stopping it. You spoke on something, and especially when we're talking about dealing with the kids who are or younger man, a 40-year-old man, and dealing with a 10 to 15-year-old man. I was thinking about just the empathy side of it. Like I think as we continue our growth and our process, what I've learned for myself is that there's a huge empathy side that's a part of this thing. Like going back and saying, okay, what was I like at that age? What was going on there? And then having empathy and grace for myself for where I am now in the process, and saying that, okay, 10 years from now, that's the person who I want to be. Because the like, and you brought up the Matthew McConaughey. What were you? What you thought you were going to be? He's like, no, I'm nothing like I thought I was going to be. That goes back to the beginning when I said what I found is that we set off during this process, but when we think about the thing or this result that we're looking for, it's rarely what it is once we get there, whatever there is. Once if I say you set it off and then the process is actually, you put a time limit on it. Let's say you actually adhere to your time and your goal. 5 years from now, I'm a millionaire. That's great. When you hit that, you might hit that early. You might hit that later. You might get to 3-4 years and say, I don't even want that. Like, actually, I was thinking that it was $1 million, but what it actually is I wanted to change my community. What it actually was is that I wanted to be there for my family. I wanted to make sure my family was supported. So when we talk about the process, and I wrote this today on the wall, I heard from a mentor of mine where he said clarity is more important than willpower. If you can grasp that concept of clarity being more important than willpower, because from the clarity, if you gain clarity from the beginning, you almost don't really need the willpower, because the clarity is going to come with what you value. If you can imagine yourself, and it's what I would like anyone who's watching this to do. This is something real tangible, and you got to work on this because this visualization takes some work for some people who haven't been doing it for a long time.
It does.
So it may not be as prevalent as it is once you get there, but do this for me. Visualize yourself with that $1 million. I'm making up a number, guys, or 100,000, whatever it is.
Whatever the number is.
Yeah, whatever it is, or the job, or the place you want to be. Where we always want something. We always want, and you have it. What exactly does that person look like, and what does he feel? Like, what is it? Like, what is this $1 million going to do for you? Oh, it's going to make sure my family is security. Okay, great. I love you. So why do you want your family to be secure? Oh, because I want to be, I want them to have abundance and love. Okay, so that's even, so now we're just getting up to the higher value. This is what some people will call like a value solicitation. I just want abundance and love for my family. Okay, great. Guess what? Have it now. Have that abundance feeling and that loving feeling for your family now. So now when you're going through this process of whatever it is, you might find that, hey, I got this at $75,000.
Man, that's it, man.
I got this at $120,000. Like I got this. I don't got to put in these 60 to 90 hour work weeks like this person who's doing it because they don't even know why they're doing it. All I got to do is put in 15 hours and I'm just saying, because now you know what you're doing it for, and you have it already. Everything that we're looking to have, we already have. That's why when I say there's nothing but the process, and this is where the enjoyment of the process comes, because you're already that, and you already have that. Everybody who means anything to you, more than likely, they already love what it is that you are. So it's like, so if you already, and I'm just using this abundance and love thing for your family, legacy, whatever, like you have it, so now you can better gauge as to what it is. And yeah, if you want to continue striving for it, I'm not saying don't strive. I'm not saying don't put in the work. I'm not saying but know what it is that you're doing for, and be present with what it is that you have now. What were you gonna say, brother?
I love that. I love that. Yeah, y'all check out my I'm gonna have some 1 minute shorts coming up about this, but listen. So I was thinking about this, man, and you like hit the nail on the head. Like that is it right there. The process is like everybody. There's hills and there's valleys, and this is one of the things that I was talking to you about earlier. There's hills and there's valleys. There's mountain peaks and there's valley lows, right? And there's even a scripture that talks about how when the Lord comes, that every valley will be made high and every mountain will be made low. And so there's this leveling. It's a level playing field. It's like, whoa, that's pretty impressive, when you think about it in the biblical sense. But it hit me in a more natural sense that corresponded with that scripture reference. And it was like, when you're going through, it's because the valley is way down here and the peak is way up here. And the peak, when you get to the peak, everybody wants to be at the peak. And they're like, yes, I made it. I made it. You got your Rocky Balboa, type of running up the stairs thing, and there's nobody else there. It's just you, exuberance, joy, feeling of accomplishment. And what do? What did Rocky do? Rocky ran back down the steps. And then he taught everybody else how to run up the steps. And he ran up the and all the movies. When Creed comes, he runs up the steps.
Running up the steps.
Everybody's running up these steps. Everybody wants to feel that. But the thing is you got to come back down because nobody's up there. It's a lonely place at the top.
It's a lonely place at the top.
So now that you know how to get to the top, it doesn't make it any less difficult. I mean, do you think that when he ran it the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, that, when he got to step 3, he was like, you know what? I've already been up there to the top. I made it. You still got to get all the way up to the top. My whole point is that it's not the top. The top is this brief moment of exuberance. You mentioned this earlier about how when you actually get to that place where you desire to be, it's like you actually missed that run, that drive, that climb, that work.
That work.
Because it was in the middle of that work that you felt like you were worth. You made yourself worth what you were working for. And self-value is more important than the award that you get for doing it. Because I asked Kobe Bryant, why you go back on it? Why, God bless his soul, why'd you go back on the court? Why did you show back up at 3:00 in the morning? Everybody else is showing up at 5 to work out. Why are you here at 4? Oh, because I wanted to get here before everybody else. Now they all show up at 4. Well, what are you doing here? What time did you get here, Kobe? Oh, I was here at 3.
Kobe was looking.
Kevin, what's his name? 3-point shooter.
Durant.
What's that? Curry.
Durant.
Curry. Curry. Why are you shooting? Halfway horizontal. Like, who shoots like that? Oh, well, what if somebody knocks me down and this is the buzzer beater and I got to hit that 3? LeBron, why are you shooting from the other side of the field? Why are you practicing a shot from the paint on the other side of the court. Why? Why are you doing that? Well, because if there's only 2 seconds left and I get the ball and I got to shoot for it, I might as well try to make it. And it's like these impossible tasks become possible only because people have put themselves through the ringer so much that they have to create this new process, this new work in order for them to gain the same exhilaration. The process is what forges us. It makes us stronger. It makes us greater. It makes us better. And that's what you were just saying, Mike. I heard it. You're like, you don't know what you have to become in order to make it to the top. And once you realize what you have to become, the top ain't high enough. It just isn't.
It's not. It's not. You got to fall in love with the process. It's hard to me saying it right now. I feel a certain amount of resistance coming out. Me saying it right now, I feel a certain amount of resistance that I feel it in my stomach. Me saying it, but the truth is the truth. And so you fall in love with the process, and you got to fall in love with yourself in the process. They just asked Mike. We speaking about. I know we're going off on a tangent for those of you that aren't privy to sports, but we're gonna talk about another great. We talk about Mike Tyson, and someone just asked Mike Tyson. This guy was a champion. I think it was an MMA champion. He asked Mike Tyson, like where? How did you feel? Where were you at your best? When you were the champion, or when you weren't the champion? Like at what point in time did you feel like you were you felt the best? And Mike Tyson said, I felt best when I was with me. Like, and I'm going to tell you right now, I think Mike Tyson probably would trade everything, probably them belts and everything to get Customato back and go back in the gym with that old man, teaching him how to throw punches and maneuver and being around those different men. And he would probably wouldn't even want those championships. Though that year when he was winning the championship after Customato passed away, and he was on his own and he was still knocking people out, I can guarantee you he would trade that time in, because he lost the money anyways. I think it was like close to $200-300 million. He lost all of that money anyways. To go back to being that 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kid in Customato's gym, eating around the dinner table with his people, going through it, waking up 3 o'clock in the morning to train to be the best. One of the best to ever to put on his gloves. He fell in love with the process. That's why now you catch him at 55. Guess what he's doing? He's trying to relive. He's trying to relive. When you think about it, he's trying to go. Because that probably puts him back in that state of when he was 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. This man is training like a madman right now.
And he's even better.
Yeah, he's 55, 60 years old. So he finds comfort in that process. And here's another thing: whenever you get off track, and I know this as myself, here's some self-awareness for you. I know when I'm getting off track is because is when I'm no longer in the process. Because when I'm at my not at my peak, at my best, when I'm not being my best, when I'm not present, I'm not in the process. Mike is starting to wake up at whatever time he wants to wake up at. Mike is starting to drag whatever he wants to drag at. Mike is not doing the things that the process asked for. So I'm dying 2 ways. I'm dying by not doing what it is that got me to where I am. And then I'm dying on the result end side of it, because I'm like, I'm not getting the result that I know I can get. So you like that might be where the saying comes: a hero dies once, but a coward dies 1,000 deaths. Jump into this process, right, and do what it is you have to do, and then have a good night's sleep behind it. But if you're not doing what it is, if you're not in the process, this so-called hard process, and make it hard too, as hard as you can. Work as hard as you can. Be your best self. So that when you go lay your head down at night, regardless of what happened, you can say, I left it all out there. And I did my best. The best that I had today, I gave that best. It might be a bad day. Brother, we make calls. We make prospecting calls. We talk to different prospects. And some of them conversations may not necessarily go as we would like them to go. But that's what prospecting is about. It's about filtering out stuff. But so that day, I remember one day this week, matter of fact, maybe it was Monday. I said, Lord have mercy. Every call I had was a negative. They was off the jump. They had a situation, and it wasn't about them. It was me, right? I noticed that. That's what I was like. Oh, you know what? It's not even them. It's the way that I'm coming off, because there's no way that I'm talking to, 6, 7, 8 different people, and they all say the exact same thing, the same kind of way. You know what I mean? So it was like, okay, so I got to watch it, but that wasn't. But I gave my best that day. So as long as I gave my best that day, guess what? When I went to go pick up my son and spend time with my son, I felt I was present there, because I wasn't thinking about, oh, I didn't make my phone calls today because I didn't feel good today, or I didn't feel like making calls today. I'm with my son. I'm like, listen, I made my phone calls. I did my time. I wrote down some notes as to what it is that I can improve. I know what I need to implement for the next day to make it even better and a smoother process. And I'm going to keep on moving. And the next day, have my best day the next day, not based on when I had the best day ever. You know what I mean? That day's gone. That was the best Mike ever. No, my Tuesday is going to be my best. Me bringing my best self to my Tuesday. Me bringing my best self to my Wednesday, and it's going to be, and throughout it all, I'm going to be learning from these different things. But that is just little, this just gives us, I'm trying to give you all some tangible ways of how to stick to this process. But I'm telling you, I felt the resistance. And this is a man that's been in the process for a long time. I feel the resistance when I said it out loud originally. When I talk about the process, I understand that, but get your values right. Start to understand, like, what are you doing for? That's the start with why. Like, what am I doing this for? And really, hash it out. Yeah, hash it out, man.
Man, I felt that. That would hit me. It hit me, because I haven't been waking up at 4:30. Not lately. I've been slipping on that one. And I'm gonna tell you something. When I get up, I hadn't moved as fast. Just exhausted, extremely tired and exhausted every day. And I've been trying to get my mind around, like, where is this exhaustion coming from? Now, granted, I've added a few things.
Yeah.
And so, because I got solid on my workout. I got solid on my workout, and I've been hitting it hard. I changed my diet up, So, I hit that hard. I've been doing that consistently. I'm cutting through some creatine right now. So I'm going through one container of that, and I'm going to cut through that. And then, just cycle through that, I should say, and I've added, because I wasn't able to hit all my calories and protein. So I added some shakes with that Mild-Tech in it too, so that I can make sure I hit the caloric intake as well as. So, I'm putting my body through something that is a little bit different in order for me to hit all these different goals. And so I also linked up with the, shout out to Felicia Turner Muhammad, because I linked up with her as an accountability partner, and so, and I'm already giving my coach, I send her what I did every single day, so I'm like adding all of these little key components and everything. And I'm gonna tell you something, like, my call volume has improved, my appointment volume has improved, you know what I mean? And, I'm working on a couple closings right now. I got it up on one of the screens, as a matter of fact, while we speak, because it was just sitting there before we got into this. And so it's like, but then I noticed that there was like a drop off in something else, right? And that's like one of the things about this that I was going to mention, because you were talking about your kids, like what is the reason? Because this is the thing, when you're climbing that mountain to get to that peak, you got to carry all of that with you. So knowing why you do what you do is really important, because you don't leave it behind. You can't leave it behind. If you're doing it for your kids, you can't leave your kids at the bottom of the mountain and keep climbing. You got to put them on your back. You got to put your wife on your back. You got to put your kids on your back. You know, you got to put whatever it is that you love, that you care, that you don't want to lose. You can't leave it at the bottom of the mountain somehow, some way. And so that may make the climb more arduous. It may make it more difficult. It may make the climb a little slower because you can't drop them. They'll die. You get so high up and you lose grounding, you lose faith, and you're stuck on a cliff. And nobody really knows how to get there but you. Nobody knew really how to climb. Everybody was just depending on you. And so you have to be teaching them the whole way about the process, because you need them to understand what they're going through and what the ramifications are of this. And it's got to be communication. Because if you get midway and all of a sudden you're losing your mind, you don't know what's going on, and you need somebody to help you, like, these are the people that are in your corner. If you had brought them with you, then they're there for you. If you left them behind, they may just be the one who tells you, I told you. And maybe if they got that type of attitude, maybe there was a reason behind that. But that communication, like, that's part of it. That's part of it.
You spoke on that last week, which I hear anybody, if you got this far into the show, go back last week and listen to that, especially specifically when you're talking about your significant other, your family, your relation, people who you're in a relation with. I heard Gary Vee say over communicate to these people. I also think and one of the things you spoke about last week was to do that maintenance check. You used the car analogy. So being able to go back and check on those people and understand, exactly what this ride is going to look like. And I would also go back into the value, figure out your values. Once again, a lot of people start off on journeys and then we go back to the mask. Don't fool yourself. Know who you are. There's a lot of people who need to understand who they are. It looks good on TV. It looks good on social media. It sounds good on the radio. You know what I mean? Like, it's not certain paths aren't for everybody. So I would adhere for you to say, okay, so is this worse for some people? Is this? I heard a billionaire say, he's a billionaire. He got this guy jumped on the plane with him. He let this guy ride on his private plane to Boston. Great video where he said he made $1 billion. He said, what would you do different? He said, man, I lost my wife in this process. He said, if I could do it all over again, I would have made that adjustment. This is a billionaire. Sure, he can go out and get a billion other wives, so to speak, or at least have the companion, so-called companionship. But he's talking about this woman that he lost during the process of him getting to $1 billion. And when you think about it, he was willing to do that. That was his value, regardless of what he says. I hear a lot of what he says. I really don't pay attention to much what people say. I really pay attention to their behaviors. Are you willing to, and it's going to show, because essentially his value system was that money was worth more to him than his wife, because that's what he did. That's the choice that he made. And he has to live with that decision. And he's living. He didn't, he's still here. So I think everyone needs to go ahead and do that self-awareness check, even on the road too. I'm not saying don't strive for it. But I want to make $10 million. All right, great. Are you willing to do this? What do you mean? Are you willing? And it doesn't have to be your wife. Are you willing to give up the TV, this show? Are you willing not to watch sports anymore? Are you willing to get up a little bit, 2-3 hours earlier? So you're giving up sleep. What are you willing to give up? Do a value solicitation on that. Understand what you are willing to give. Man, I can't give this up. I need to go visit my mother every 2 weeks in Jamaica or whatever it is. That's how my life lives. I need to get, so I can't go. Okay, well, maybe you want to either you find another route on how to get to where this thing that you want, or it might just say, listen, my time, I value this more than I value this. You gotta figure those things out, man. So that's my thought process, man. I know we're gonna head out. What are your last words, brother?
I think that was powerful, man. That's good. I do have some last words. Just it's this there's a process for reaching that peak, and we just kind of talked about it. Whether sometimes you got that pathway upward where it seems like you're moving steadily upwards. It's a little bit of incline, and sometimes you got that straight incline where it's just straight up and it's all girt. There's no turning back. But I just would like to put out there that understand that there's a process to the valley too. And a lot of times the process to the valley is a lot easier. And I think that's key to understand. The process to the valley, sitting back, watching the tube, the process to the valley, plugging into the video game, staying there for 2-3 hours. The process to the valley, not having that conversation with your wife, with your significant other. The process to the valley, not talking with your kids, not going into that uncomfortable zone.
Right.
The process to the valley, not valuing yourself at your place of work, just allowing people to walk all over you. The process to the valley, not situating yourself inside of your faith, inside of your belief. The process to the valley. That's the process to the valley. These shortcuts, these easy ways.
Big time.
And before you know it, it's just like you're sliding. It's like getting on a slide. It's like going to the playground. Paul said, when I was a kid, I thought as a kid, I did as a kid, but now that I've grown older, I put away childish things. I got rid of that stuff, so I don't go to the playground anymore just to slide down. I don't do that. I can't do that anymore because these things become lifestyles. I can't just go and sit down on the couch and just be like, oh, let me just enjoy 5 hours. Let me just, what do you call that again? When you binge, let me just binge the whole season and just, I can't do that. Like maybe you can do it for once, you're sitting down with your kid, you're sitting down with your lady, and you guys make this your thing for the night. You're like, this is what we're going to do. This is what we want to do. I don't want to go to Jamaica. I don't want to go to Puerto Rico. I just want to go and sit and binge this show. And then tomorrow we back at it. Whatever. That's fine. But if I'm like, what movie you see? Oh, let me go watch that. Oh, what series you watching? Oh, I'm gonna watch that too. What? Oh, it's only got 200 episodes. Okay, I'm gonna catch up with you. I'll see you next week. This is the process to the valley.
I'm gonna tell you what, brother. That's what I tell people all the time. You can, right? That's that process. You can do it, but just be aware of it. And be okay. And here's the thing: be okay with it. You know what I mean? I just want people to be okay with the decision. Be okay with the decisions that you make. You know what I mean? And understand that, like I said, everyone can't be something. Understand where that comes from.
I'm gonna say, don't be okay.
No, I
get what you're saying. I
think everyone has their own risk. It's almost like risk tolerance. You know what I mean? Like I hear you, bro. I know because you, and that's why you and I are tend to be, we were aligned as such. But I had to sit back and have empathy and grace for people because here's the thing, real quick. Because now we go is that I've seen people who have this that have it, right? But then they have a conversation with There was recently. Here's another cultural thing. There's a young lady named Ebony Williams, and she was in the news for the past 2-3 weeks. Everyone was hot at her because a lady named Ayana Van Zalen asked her. She said, "Would you be comfortable dating a bus driver?"
Oh, I remember you said that.
Okay, yeah. So this is a 40-year-old woman, and she said, "If he owned the bus, everybody got hot." And granted, the way that she said it and it came off, a person could sit back and be like, "Yeah, you're disrespecting a bus driver." Her mother was a bus driver, so this is no excuse for the way it came off. Because even if it's true, and take it from me, guys, even if it's true, it might not be the right way. It might not be correct. I don't even know if that makes sense. But even if it's true,
No, it does.
because people aren't really going to grasp it, especially from where she was, the platform she used, etc. But when you think about it from her point of view, is that I worked this hard to get to this place in my life where I guess she makes money. I haven't really gotten to her background, but she's accomplished. She's a lawyer, whatever. I got this far to get to this place. The person that I want can't just be thinking I'm gonna drive the bus and be comfortable, and that's fine. And it's fine for the person who's driving the bus to be comfortable driving the bus. I don't feel like there's anything wrong with bus drivers. But if this is your partner and you're attempting to make this person something that he or she does not strive to be.
There it is.
Like y'all not on equal footing, and you communicated this. Hopefully you communicated this. Like, listen, because maybe if you communicated this from the beginning, y'all wouldn't even be in this relationship, number one. Because that person going to be like, listen, I'm fine being this bus driver. If you're not okay with me being this by the time 10, 20, 30 years from now, which I see myself, then I'm going to. But let's say you didn't have that conversation because in your mind, you went in with these preconceived assumptions that this person needs to go along with me. Then you're going to have to sit back and, 10, 15 years online, this person's still a bus driver, whatever it is, occupation that you don't feel like they're striving to be better. The conversation has to be like, is this person a person that I'm going to take along with me on this journey? Right? Like now you got to see what your values are. Do I value this? Hopefully, marriage is vows involved in marriage, people. I believe in them. If are my vows worth this, or am I willing to, go a separate way and risk alienating this person because this is how I feel about the situation, right? So I think it goes back to the value. But I'm with you. And I shot for listen. Don't be okay with just being the values. Don't be okay with the process of the values. I'm with you 1,000%.
Yeah.
But
it's a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both, and I know it's a tough scenario because it's like, listen, like I said, if Mike sits down and watches a movie, he's gonna be okay with it. I know you're gonna be okay with it because you're not gonna sit down and watch many movies,
right?
So if you sit down and watch a movie, there's probably a reason. It's probably a reason.
Or I'm probably eating it. I'm eating into my rest time. You know what I mean? Like,
he's giving up something in order to see whatever that is, or he's supporting somebody, or whatever it is. Right. But it's not going to be that he's going to sit down and watch 10 hours of movies.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
That's not Mike.
I don't think my body would allow it.
Now I used to do that. Used to do that, man. I watched a little thing on my cell phone. Right, I should be sleeping. I should be sleeping. And I'm going from, 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock watching this. And now I wake up tired. And now I'm just like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I'm like, don't be okay with it from this perspective. Yeah. And be okay with it if this is the exception to the rule that you have decided. Like Mike, like you just said, you have chosen to do this for whatever the reason is. I don't even know what to read.
No, you choosing it.
You just know you choose it. You chose this, and understand that there are things that come with it.
Yes.
And it's not just oh, I just lost 2 hours. It's okay. No, the thing is, like every single thing that we do repetitively becomes a habit. And when a habit digs deep enough down into your brain, it becomes something that feels as if it is unbreakable, like a chain. And so you find yourself being bound to something that is non-profitable to you. And so whatever it is that you're looking to do, you now have to first find a key or break the chain before you can start and escape. You haven't even gotten out of the cell. You're just still trying to get out the chains, man.
They don't know. They don't know how hard it is to establish new neural pathways. Once you get it in that, like you mentioned, brother. Once you get it into that system, you wired yourself. You wired this powerful thing to do that. That's what this thing is expecting. Yeah, brother. Oh man, guys, we could go on forever. I know I got to get this thing out. We gotta get this thing out at 6:30, man. Really, really, man, in-depth conversation. Listen, what's funny is that we started one way, we didn't know how it was gonna end. This is how we ended it, and it's a very powerful show as always, man. This is the process. You just witnessed the process. Man. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys, man. And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, right? I enjoy you, man. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so you enjoy. This is how you enjoy the process, because this was the process. Make no mistake about it, man. We appreciate you guys. Tune in each and every Friday.
Next week.
Yeah. Community Beacon, man. We appreciate you guys, man. Peace. I know I gotta press the button. Which one?